Good evening. At 8:15 tonight, we cater for those of you who enjoy variety with a 45-minute program of music and comedy, which we present under the title of Hi There.
I've always had the theory that if you pick your nose on television and pick it often enough, you will become a television personality. Not a star, that needs talent. You don't have to have talent, you have to have continuity of exposure, if you know what I mean. And I have to tell you that I know one or two actors who are better than I am, but who don't get the billing I get, don't sometimes get the money I get, and certainly don't get the employment I get. I get it simply because I was Macdonald Hobley.
Be not afraid of greatness, 'twas well writ.
What means thou by that, Marvolio?
Some are born great,
Huh?
some achieve greatness,
What sayest thou?
and some have greatness thrust upon them.
But celebrity is what you volunteer for.
Streets are very cloudy.
At much diving in the marsh.
They never hear the sound of far too rowdy.
Yes.
They think that Mary Mac and Peter Haig and Donald Gray terribly alike and never hear a word they say. They probably think Grandma Groove is really Francis Day.
Well, the BBC were a bit prudish in my days, and we had to always have a dress that wasn't too low, and if I had a bit of a bust, I always had to have flowers down the middle of my corsage. And there was the new look with all this lovely off-the-shoulder, beautiful dresses, full evening dress in a dirty old studio. And one night I wore a strapless dress and no jewellery, and the cameraman panned right in, so all you saw was me with bare head and shoulders. And I got a memo, a rocket. How dare you appear like that? You look as if you were in the bath, and in future you will always wear a little stole round your shoulders.
I cannot go outside my front door, even now, at my elderly age, when there's practically nobody left alive who remembers me. I cannot go out into what's laughingly called the West End looking anything but tidy, because it was so drilled into us that wherever you go, you are the representatives of the BBC. You are the last link in the programme, the last link with the public, and you therefore you represent the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Well, I'd rather have my job than hers.
Once again, let's say welcome to What's My Line, and start off in the usual way by introducing the experts. And may I say a little sadly that this is the last time for some time we'll have Gilbert with us, Gilbert Harding.
He was a sort of explosion, and you never knew where you had him or where you hadn't got him or what his moods were, and he suffered this awful guilt complex that what he was doing wasn't intellectually equal to what he could do, and I think secretly he despised the people who gave him fame, and then he'd go the other way and try and compensate for that. And there was one marvelous moment just up the road from here where, in the mood of trying to compensate for not enjoying his subjects, he came out and met a lot of children outside the door. Autograph, please, you know. And they've got the bits of the usual lavatory paper and so on. And he says, well, haven't you got a pencil? You see, and one little child says, here. And there's an old lady at the back. And she mutters loud enough for Gilbert to hear, well, you'd imagine the least he'd do would have a pencil. He knows he's going to be asked for autographs. 1 week later, he's in Blackpool, opening the illuminations or something. Another bunch of snotty-nosed kids come up, and he takes out his pen. Another old lady said, well, the conceit. Pencil at the ready.
To some extent, all television personalities are defined by the audience, dematerializing when the audience goes home. But Gilbert Harding, a soft-centred, bad-tempered man, both kind-hearted and intolerable, was actually present before the audience turned up. His inability to shrink his 3 dimensions into the 2 required was, in my view, the true source of his chronic dissatisfaction.
What's lacking?
Oh, I think that the thing that is really lacking is a sense of purpose, you know. There's not much point in asking people whether they're coal heavers from Wigan or chimney sweepers from Stoke-on-Trent. nor even in answering questions from Dimbleby and Train on whether the object is animal, vegetable or mineral.
Well, why do you do it?
Well, it keeps one out of the workhouse. No one doesn't want to go back, although there aren't any now, thanks Mr. and Irene Bevan. And I suppose, in a way, it's due to a fundamental laziness.
Do you feel very strongly yourself the need for success?
No, I've never consciously striven for it, but once I was aware I had it, I must say that I'm terrified of losing it.
Gilbert Harding, who in my opinion was probably the first of the people who admitted that he considered it was robbery. I mean, Gilbert's line was, you know, kind of, at least Dick Turpin wore a mask when he robbed people. I just sit there on television and they give me this money and I say outrageous things and they all take a note, and then I go in the pub and people discuss it with me and they think I'm a man of great importance. And actually I believe Gilbert would have liked to have been a man of importance. I mean, real importance.
What Harding wasn't able to bear was the audience feeding off the single aspect of himself that seemed to be the personality, when that aspect was but one facet of a real, much troubled man. But the magic rectangle deals only in cartoons.
I know exactly what you are. You go round working instruments to find out who've not taken out television licenses.
The first indication you often have that you've found a personality is when the viewers phone in to complain and say they don't like the person, and when the bosses here say, my goodness, you must get that person off the screen. And if you persevere for a few weeks, the letters begin to disappear. Somebody in a newspaper says, here is a character. A few more letters come in and they're beginning to like the chap, and then the bosses will like the chap, and then you've probably got a personality. But the word personality, by definition, means somebody who has singular, you know, peculiar singularities, who is a different person, who has mannerisms. Now that means that some people will like that and some will hate it. But that is the definition of a personality, somebody who stands out. And if you stand out, you please some and irritate others.
C-K-Y. Right. The casual nature of the mass attention the personality is accorded might well make him feel a disposable article. As I once heard someone say, spotting Harding in the street, is that him? Right, I've seen him now. You can take him out and shoot him.
Mouse. You wouldn't care if I put Mickey Mouse.
This sort of attention has no weight. Like trading stamps, you'd need an awful lot before you could swap it for anything real. Take anyone.
Terry Wogan. I love him.
Logan. The man who does all the interviews, the Irishman. Wogan. Wogan. No, I can't stand him.
I don't know, Terry Wogan.
What's wrong with him?
I don't know, he's too nice.
I'm not that keen on Wogan myself.
Why?
He's on too regular. Get fed up with a good thing.
Oh, I like the newsreader in, what's his name? But I can't think of his name now.
The one who says what goes on television and what doesn't.
Oh, that'll be Mrs. Mary Whitehouse. But do you reckon she's a television personality?
Not really.
Well, that leaves us where he found us. Do you have a favourite on the television?
No, I haven't got one.
Oh, you haven't got one?
I think the general trend is a loaded tripe.
It's in the Thames television on 6 o'clock. What's his name?
I can't think of his name either. He wouldn't like to hear this,
No,
would he?
he wouldn't, but he's very nice.
The Night. Sir, he's my favourite.
What's his name?
The television newscaster.
What's his name?
Sir, I can't think of his name.
Sir Robin D. I can't stand him.
No, on the newsreader I like. On the Thames television, you know, 6 o'clock.
Well, we just all have to try and remember his
Yeah,
name.
that's right.
People will actually come up to you and say, "Here, aren't you that woman on the telly? What's your name?" That's what they usually do.
I remember about the fourth week of, that was the week that was, I went into Harrods to buy something. I was writing out a cheque, and he said, and the man behind the counter said, well, we've seen all the 3 weeks of your show so far, Mr. Frost. Oh, really? Yes, yes, it's absolutely wonderful. The first week we were in, so we made sure we watched. Oh, thank you very much. I was writing out the cheque. And the second week we were out, but we got back in time for it. And oh, thank you very much for writing out the cheque. And the third week we stayed in quite deliberately. We had dinner early. Thank you very much. I handed him the cheque, and he said, do you have any means of identification? You know, so I mean, that's good realism, because deep down, I mean, after all the things about, no, wait a minute, you tell me, don't, no, wait a minute, you know, and all that stuff, in the end, it's reality in the sense that people's lives have got a lot more to them than watching television.